Have you ever imagined a scene that is likely very familiar to you? It is 2 a.m. You are lying in bed, your eyes dry and strained from hours of staring at your phone. Your logic is screaming at you. Go to sleep. You have a long day tomorrow. But your thumb seems to have a mind of its own, performing that mechanical, mindless, pull to refresh gesture over and over again. With every swipe, a new 15-second video, a perfectly edited photo, or a sensational headline pops up. In those moments, you feel full. You feel connected to a vast ocean of information. But the second you finally muster the strength to turn off the screen, a massive, black hole-like void swallows you whole. Why? Why is it that in an era where the cost of acquiring information is nearly zero, we feel more ignorant and anxious than ever before? 40 years ago, media theorist Neil Postman wrote Amusing Ourselves to Death. He proposed a prophecy that sent shivers down the spine of the intellectual world. What destroys humanity might not be the tyranny we fear, but the pleasure we love. We are currently in the middle of a meticulously designed, gentle slaughter. We are regressing from thinkers to spectators. Fed by the digital pacifiers of algorithms, we haven't been forced, we have volunteered to surrender our right to think. Today, we are going beyond the surface. We are going to dissect the underlying architecture of this amusement to death. This isn't just a book summary. It is a survival guide for reclaiming your mind in an age of fragments. To understand why entertainment can be fatal, we must first grasp a core philosophical concept. The medium is the metaphor. This sounds abstract, but its underlying logic is straightforward. The tools you use to consume information are not just neutral pipes. They are an invisible set of instructions. They dictate, without you knowing, how your brain processes reality and how you define truth. Let's turn the clock back to 19th century America. It was an era ruled by the printed word. Whether you were a frontier farmer or a city lawyer, the default mode of the human brain was linear and logical. Why does reading train the brain? Because reading is an anti-instinctive, laborious task. When your eyes scan rows of black and white characters, your brain performs high-intensity computation. You have to recognize symbols, parse complex grammar, maintain context, and, most importantly, build a complex world inside your head without any visual help. If you don't understand a paragraph, you must stop. You must flip back. This medium cultivated focus, deductive reasoning, and delayed gratification. This is why the 1858 Lincoln-Douglas debates could last for 7 straight hours. Audiences sat on the grass under a scorching sun, listening to speeches filled with nested clauses, historical allusions, and rigorous legal logic. In that era, truth had weight. It had to pass through the trial of the written word and the fire of logic to be accepted. However, with the rise of television and the current reign of the smartphone, we have entered the age of images and fragments. The essence of visual media is emotional and decontextualized. When you watch a video, your brain is in a relatively passive state. The information is fed to you in images. It doesn't require abstract transformation. Visuals chase instant impact. Under this logic, every piece of content must follow one supreme command: be interesting. In this media environment, knowledge is downscaled. Imagine trying to explain quantitative easing on TikTok. If you don't add flashy effects, funny sounds, or rapid-fire cuts, the viewer will swipe away in 3 seconds. Thus, serious topics are forced to be entertained. When we get used to replacing logical demonstration with visual thrill, our definition of truth changes. It is no longer, is this logical, but rather, is this engaging? This is what Postman called pseudo-information. It gives you the illusion of knowing the world, while you are actually just consuming a performance. Now, we enter the most rigorous part of our dissection: how this trend of total entertainment is strangling human civilization from the microbiological to the macrosocial. Over hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, the human brain developed a precise dopamine reward system for survival. When we discover something new or acquire useful information, the brain secretes a tiny amount of dopamine to encourage us to keep exploring. Modern algorithms, however, are high-level hackers of this system. They don't just feed you information randomly, they use tens of thousands of data points to strike your neural pain points with surgical precision. This is why short-form video is so addictive. Every swipe is essentially a Skinner box experiment. You don't know what the next video will be, and this variable ratio reinforcement causes dopamine to surge. Being in this high-frequency, cheap stimulation loop causes a devastating biological consequence: the elevation of your neurological threshold. You find it painful to read a thick book now. You might even find it hard to sit through a 3-minute deep dive video without wanting to speed it up. This isn't because the content is too hard. It's because your brain has been rewired. Your brain is now habituated to receiving feedback every 15 seconds. This tolerance makes you physiologically repulsed by deep thinking, which requires long-term investment and slow feedback. We are experiencing a collective focus anemia, and losing focus means losing the ability to solve complex problems. Postman identified a classic concept called now this. In traditional news, a presenter might talk about a catastrophic earthquake for 30 seconds, then immediately turn to the camera with a bright smile and say, "And now, this weather report." On social media today, this contextual fracture is magnified 10,000 times. Your feed is a heap of fragments with zero logical connection. One post is a heavy reflection on war, the next is a celebrity breakup, and the next is a funny cat video. This rapid-fire emotional switching completely severs the causal links between events. Information becomes a random, shattered atom. When our empathy for tragedy is instantly canceled out by a joke in the next second, our understanding of the world becomes like the memory of a goldfish. We have more information than ever before, but we have lost the ability to integrate it into a coherent worldview. We know many dots, but we can no longer connect them into a line. This is the final form of Aldous Huxley's prophecy in Brave New World. Humanity no longer needs a violent dictator, because we have fallen in love with the technologies that oppress us. When every public sector, politics, education, science, is forced into the logic of entertainment, serious dialogue turns into baby talk. People are no longer citizens. They are merely audiences. Look at modern public discourse. A complex social policy is often reduced to an angry meme or a snarky tweet. Because emotion is more entertaining than rational data analysis, it wins the clicks. In this culture of amusement to death, depth of thought becomes a burden, and anti-intellectualism becomes a trend. In our laughter and our swipes, we are burying the very thing that made us human, our capacity for independent, critical thought. So, in a world designed to distract us and an algorithm built to calculate our every weakness, is there any hope? Neil Postman didn't provide a simple checklist at the end of his book because he knew there was no shortcut to this problem. But I believe each of us can lead a micro-rebellion. The first step is awareness. The next time you pick up your phone and feel that strange, hollow emptiness, please realize it isn't your fault. Your brain is being targeted by a multi-billion-dollar engineering feat. Being aware of the manipulation is the beginning of reclaiming your autonomy. The second step is embracing boredom. Deep thinking has a barrier to entry, and that barrier is built out of boredom and patience. Try to read a book that is actually difficult for you. Try to work for 1 hour in total silence without your phone in the room. Go for a walk without a podcast. Have a face-to-face conversation without a screen between you. Because depth is a form of defense. When your brain learns to derive dopamine from a slow, steady rhythm of effort, the fragments of the algorithm can no longer easily shatter you. Don't let your soul drown in the flicker of meaningless lights. In an age where everyone is racing toward instant gratification, choosing to go slow and go deep is a form of modern heroism. In this kingdom of amusement to death, guard your curiosity and hold onto your logic. It might be the most important thing you do for yourself in this era. Thank you for watching this episode. If you value content that chooses depth over clicks, please subscribe and share this with your friends. I'm Professor Psycho, and I will see you in the next deep dive.